Lately I've been working on Breezy's menus a lot, but I wanted to take a break from all that boring UI coding. The most interesting thing I've done in the past month is the settings menu, so in the past couple weeks I've been making an ice world. Here's how I did it. First, I planned the world. This course is the third after the grass and beach worlds. The grass course is a simple tutorial level, and the beach course is a slower paced world full of puzzles. I wanted to make the ice world fast and exciting to wake up after the last world. Then I wrote the song. Normally I do this later on, but I did it first this time since I was on spring break and wanted to have fun. Plus I'd had this melody stuck in my head for a while, so I wanted to get rid of it. Starts off simply with some pianos, then it adds these synths, then the melody comes in, and finally the chorus. I'd say it turned out pretty well. I wanted it to be upbeat and catchy to match the vision for the world, and I'd say I succeeded in that. Next, I had to design the terrain and the atmosphere. Instead of grass and sand, I wanted this world to have snow and ice. The snow will act just like sand, but the ice will have a special property. The ball can't stop when sliding on ice, so the player can maneuver it around until they hit some snow or the flag. I can use this for some pretty tough platforming challenges, but there's more to come later. I also designed a skybox that's dark enough for an icy cave, since the past two worlds were pretty bright. Next, I designed some of the levels. As I said before, I want them to be pretty tough platforming challenges. I also added in some icicles as obstacles that push the player back. I also plan to add falling icicles that could act as barriers, even creating chain reactions of falling ice that the player would have to race to beat the level. I came up with a new scheme of planning out the levels. For the first world, I just flew by the seat of my pants, making levels as I thought of them to fill up 18 holes. This worked okay, but it was a bit slow and the levels are kinda random. I also had to tweak them a lot after I finished the world. For the second world, I used a planning system where I drew out the levels in OneNote beforehand. However, this didn't really solve anything. I was just moving the slowness and randomness out of the planning stage. For this world, I've got another system. First, I write down a list of general descriptions of each level. They're just one line and they don't provide any detail, just the general purpose of the level. Then for each level I draw out a design, just like the last system, but this time informed by the description. Finally, I make the level in Unity like before. Having a general purpose speeds up the design since I don't have to wait to think of an idea, and it makes the entire world more cohesive. Everyone talks about drawing out levels before you make them in-game, but for any type of game, I think this sort of general description writing can also help you improve your level designs. Now of course I actually had to make the levels. This involved designing some icicle structures. I quickly modeled and textured the icicle, then created some prefabs by moving them around in various ways and scaling them. It turned out pretty well, I think. Also, I know these are technically called ice stalagmites, but icicles is less of a mouthful. Finally, for one last touch, I added some snow that moves around with the wind. That's all for the ice world so far. I haven't finished every level, but this course is sure to be a banger. See you soon.